Episode 5 of Silo Season 3 is titled Memory, and the title alone is something that I feel is a clear indication for the direction of the next episode. Jules has now stopped taking the memory suppression capsule. She's having her memories gradually flooding back to her, and she's just stumbled across the last person that she saw before she was swallowed by the flames in the Season 3 finale. Memories are now going to begin to resurface, and like what we saw when Dr. Cernkovich explained to Daniel about his sister Charlotte and the fact that her memories were on the page, they just had to be found. That's what I think will be at the heart of the midway point in Season 3 for Jules. As well as that though, I also think we're going to see Camille wondering who it is that she can trust and feeling the burden of isolation because of the control that the algorithm is having over her and the difficult decisions that it's wanting her to make. So if you're ready, I'm going to be sharing my theories and predictions on what I think is going to happen next. Here is Silo Season 3 Episode 5 Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The flashback element. Within the trailer for the wider season, there were a couple of moments which stood out to me, and they contained scenes from what looked like the time period where Jules was trapped and the flames were taking over the room, consuming her and Bernard. Shirley was on the other side of the door and was banging in a panicked state, and it seems like this is going to be the time period of the end of Season 3 and also when the caring time that Shirley spoke of began. I think this means that we'll most likely get glimpses into the immediate aftermath of what happened when Jules returned to the silo. This is something that I'm actually excited to see because right up until she did return, the silo was in the middle of a rebellion, and it seemed like division was going to be present for a while longer until the Safeguard Protocol was initiated, as they were on the cusp of total annihilation. However, Jules' arrival was the very thing that stopped that and altered the entire mood of the silo for the better, bringing about a more harmonious time. I actually think we could well end up seeing the events of what happened from a different perspective. I'd almost welcome a stylistic episode that could be split into parts where we see Jules being told about what happened from different people. The first of that could well be Bernard, as we know that he's now alive and communicative in the Digger Void. The second could be Sims, as I'm sure there are a ton of events that he could recall from the 3-month period. And I also think that Shirley and Lukas Kyle would be good perspectives too. Lukas Kyle is most likely going to be there as Shirley heard a noise just before Jules went down to the Digger Void, so I feel like it's most likely going to be him. If we're told that the memories of somebody that has been on the memory suppression medication live inside of their mind, but they have to be found and then once told they can be recalled, I feel like Jules would need all of the different perspectives to gain her full memory back. This would make a cool subject matter for the episode to be focused around, and it would also enable us to understand what occurred in the silo during the 3-month period where Jules was out cold as an entire transformation happened. I also can't see another episode where flashbacks would be as important as an episode that was quite literally titled Memory and was at the exact halfway point in the season. It just makes the most sense in my opinion, so I hope we do get something like that. Even if we don't get to see it all, I think Bernard could have a huge role to play in what it is that he's going to be revealing with all of the information that he knows. Paul Billings' investigation. The investigation into Orla's death is something that's plaguing Paul Billings. He saw an optimistic, hopeful young woman in Orla when he spoke with her in episode 1, and that very life which represented prosperity, hope and future being taken away in the way that it was is something that I feel matches his entire mood about the silo as a whole. I've been questioning what it is that Orla's death is going to contribute towards because it feels like it's pretty obvious that it was orchestrated by Ed Harwood, Glenda Harwood, or Mike Davidson. Ed is the head of the mines and she was found within the mines. Obviously it could be done to frame him, but I just don't think it has been. I actually think that Orla's death is something that's going to have symbolic meaning and tie into the wider division that's at play in the silo and almost be the final thing that sends Paul Billings over the edge. That first shot that we saw of him in episode 4 showed how much he was in deep thought, and he's been like that since the end of season 2 where he caught a glimpse of the outside world in the before time. With his wife also being a part of Paddy Kennedy's outsider group, him not believing in the pact but having to rewrite it, and him almost having to enforce laws for an institution that he just simply doesn't believe in or even want to protect. He's a man that feels like he has no purpose. So I think with Orla's death being the very thing that pushes him to breaking point, that'll be what sends him over the edge and begins to demand answers. The council that is at the head of the table is essentially worthless because, in my opinion, after what we saw with Bernard being alive and it potentially being Robert Sims that saved him, Camille is just sitting there on her own whilst the others aren't on side with her. So with division at the top, it means division amongst the people too. So if Billings is seen to waver, then the citizens will most likely act how they want to because there won't be a sheriff to enforce it. The constant threat of the Safeguard Protocol being activated is the large threat that I think is looming over the silo in this season, and whilst there is peace at the moment, I think the desire to get outside will be far greater than ever by the time the season comes to a close. What we're simply watching now is the calm before the storm. Daniel, Keane and Helen. The before time is an aspect of Silo that I'm actually thoroughly enjoying in this season. First off, in following Daniel and Helen being warned that they're standing in the way of something important, I think we're going to see what Sam managed to find out being revealed to Helen by Daniel. Sam said that it was something that Daniel would never believe, and, well, if someone said to me right now that the government was building 51 silos underground in preparation for total devastation and the end of the world, I would become petrified and probably have the same reaction as Sam. So I do actually think that the important thing that the mysterious man spoke about was the creation of the silos. There'd be no point in us seeing the before time in the show if the creation of the silos, why they were there, and who created them was never explored. So I think that's something that'll be revealed to us, or at least hinted at in the next episode of the season. I also think that we'll see Sam facing consequences. There isn't a single person, location, or piece of information that the mysterious man has failed to get, and even though Sam was using an encrypted line and was through a burner, I think that information is going to end up being found out. There was a line in the trailer that was spoken by a character that we've never met before, which is played by Colin Hanks, who said, "The end of the world can't be stopped," and there was also a scene of Helen quite willingly looking like she was prepared to go inside what looked like the demonstration and presentation of the area of the silos. The fact that she had a smile on her face and looked quite happy almost makes me think that she's going to end up being caught, and because she's the journalist that Daniel couldn't do this without, could she end up having her memories erased by the medication? She had the number 18 around her lanyard, so I wonder if she was somebody that was offered a place inside of the original Silo 18 back when they were first created, and could that be her ex-Palmer in her arms? Like Colin Hanks' character said, the end of the world can't be stopped, and we know that it wasn't because look at the state of the world 350 years later. So I think we're going to get closer to the heart of why they were built, and if it was because of the United States messing up or a genuine attack. I also can't help but notice how close Silo 18 is to the main silo, Silo 1. That's something that I'm just leaving in my mind for now. I do still stand by what I said, where I think Daniel could end up becoming something of importance in the creation of the silos, and maybe even be the person that the algorithm is based on. So maybe as he comes to care for Helen and realize that the end of the world is inevitable, it'd be better to join them than fight against them, so he could give Helen a place there. For now, these are the main elements that I think we'll see in the next episode of the show. With it being titled Memory, I think it lends itself to either us seeing Jules' memories or Jules regaining her memory in full, especially seeing as though she's been off her medication for a little while now. This episode will mark the halfway point, so I'm hoping it's almost going to have that feeling of setting up an action-filled second half. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So, there you have it, Silo Season 3 Episode 5 Theories Explained.